All right, so we're officially recording. All right, hey, what's up, guys? New segment we're trying out, myself and my lovely assistant, who you see on the other side of the screen, Amy. We're literally calling it Amy Asks, in which we just take your questions that we've gathered off of Facebook and Instagram and literally just answer them. Try to do it in a 5-minute clip. So we're going to just ask around, or Amy's going to ask around 5 questions, and I'm going to just try to rapid fire answer them. To be perfectly frank, these are a lot of questions that we would usually get the chance, right, to take over coffee meetings and things of that nature. But due to our new norms, we're trying to take these as virtually as possible, answering all things housing related, where we're at, now that we're getting a little bit more clarity. So I guess without further ado, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Lots of questions actually coming in daily. Doing a lot of text messages, a lot of emails, obviously cleaning up the database, and it's been prompting a lot of questions on my end, which I don't always know the answers. So what better person to ask?
Well,
but you
maybe I don't either, but here we go. Yeah.
Okay. So this is one we're actually getting a lot of.
Sure.
So the question is, we're looking into refinancing our home. Do you recommend this right now?
Yeah, so yeah, this is a question we get just a ton of. I mean, obviously, we're not in the mortgage business, although Amy used to be. But with rates super low and admittedly a little bit volatile, a lot of people are thinking about it, right? So I think that really comes down to 2 things. Number 1, what your original interest rate was at, and then number 2, how long do you intend on holding it? Because you're going to have additional closing costs for lowering your rate. So you basically have to do the math on, okay, for the closing cost exchange and what it's going to save me on my monthly, is the sum total break even? Is it, usually the longer you intend on holding it, the better a chance you're going to have to save month to month. Now, certain lenders might help do a combination of closing costs. Some people right now, I mean, maybe you need the cash if you have a lot of equity in your home just to get by. So totally understand. It's something that's at the forefront. I think rates about 3 weeks or a month ago were at like all-time lows, which is why a huge volume of people were doing it. But with the high demand, they've started to tick back up. And I think over the next couple of months, again, not a mortgage broker, but I just anticipate we'll see some volatility in things like mortgage rates. And also, mortgage rates and the Fed fund rates are 2 different things, just as an aside.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into the next question. Brokers, lenders. How do people, this is a great question. How do I find a lender, and how do I do that not necessarily going through a Google search?
Yeah. So great question. And honestly, it's always good that that's your first step in a home purchase, is figuring out if you're pre-approved. That said, I always say, yes, of course, people like me have relationships with folks that they've had great experiences with over time. So I'm always happy to be that resource. But honestly, your family and friends, especially if you're living in the same area, may have had a really good experience with somebody that they like and trust.
Right.
And they can be a great referral as well. So yeah, I mean, if you don't want to just find some random stranger who's probably just paying a really high clip for you to become a lead off of a website that you Googled, yeah, I mean, a referral, we work off 100% referral from our network, and a lot of the good lenders in town that I work with do as well. And I'm not trying to disparage any major nationwide lending services, but each market, each area can have its own nuances. So Charleston, for instance, it's the low country. We have a ton of properties that are required to carry flood insurance. And it's really helpful when you work with a lender who understands that. And if it's a local lender, they tend to also have underwriters in-house. So if there's a problem with your loan, last minute, we're not waiting on that problem to get solved in a pipeline where, maybe the underwriter is in Arizona and the loan's taking place in South Carolina. We've got the time difference. I think we dealt with that just a month ago.
I have to say, that sounds really familiar.
Yeah. And it was a little bit of a, gun to the head moment of getting to close. I mean, we still got it done, but, it's a tenuous couple of hours. So, my 2 cents there.
Awesome. Coming from Tamara Fox, this is another one we get a lot. Great area to buy or to create an Airbnb rental income right now.
Yeah.
I think that's
so
hard. Can you do that?
Right now, it'd be,
where's the area?
Yeah, it'd be super tough because they've shut down short-term rentals and trying to just prevent the spread of COVID. But if and hopefully when we get back to some normalcy, that's all going to depend on your budget. So short-term rentals have changed just a ton in the past handful of years. As we've created some restrictions. I mean, I used to own some Airbnbs when it was the Wild West, and you could pretty much do whatever you wanted, but now each area has their own rules. So Sullivan's Island, there's only a handful that are grandfathered in. It would be very difficult to get one of those. Isle of Palms, fairly open to do, but you got to have a big enough budget to get on.
Yeah, big budget over there.
Right. I think for those that have the liquidity and cash to do it, the most friendly is honestly Mount Pleasant right now. And
JI's getting strict, right? Too.
Yeah. So James Island, West Ashley, and parts of downtown adhere to a lot of the same rules and regs. For the most part, you have to technically be on the property yourself. So
right.
An ideal situation might be a duplex or a triplex where you live in one unit and you rent out the other two. You'd still have to go through the application process, create a business, so on and so forth. Now, there is the short-term overlay district downtown in which you can do that and not live on the property. But for all intents and purposes, if I were going out and looking at a short-term rental property in a at least reasonable price range, Mount Pleasant's probably the most friendly to do it. They're allowing for a total of 1% of all the homes in Mount Pleasant to be short-term rented, which equates to roughly like properties right now. And as long as there's no HOA restrictions, you legally can do it if you follow their guidelines, which of course are available online.
Good one. Okay. Are you seeing any change in the amount of new construction lately?
Ooh, good question. Not so I think it's still too early to really say definitively one way or another. What I can say I'm seeing a major uptick in, though, is incentives to new buyers and their agents, right? So they might be including an entire appliance package. These are the things that new home builders are always going to hope to hold on to a certain price, because once they start price reducing for one, they've then got to do it to many, which ends up really hurting their pocket. But because they operate on margin and typically can get things like appliances or closing costs via lender or attorney partners pretty easily, they start becoming very negotiable there, and or providing incentives to people just like myself to bring out, so whether it's I've seen a handful of emails offering a couple $1,000 agent bonus for bringing clients there. I mean, ultimately, you and I aren't going to do or be swayed by that, because I want my folks to be happy in whatever house they have. But have I seen it work for others? Sure.
Right on. Well, this is kind of, I think we're going to start with 5 questions. This is kind of the pinnacle, which I see in my inbox kind of every day when reaching out to our database. But here we go, Gentry. Would you sell your home currently with all that's going on? There it is. There it is.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that is the big question, right? So, I mean, if I'm a family, right, I'm going to look at this through a different lens than I'm looking at as a single individual, right? So
correct.
I'm a healthy 33-year-old, while I'm very aware that this has a lot of safety concerns. Yeah, I mean, I'd sell my home right now because I don't feel the overwhelming risk. Now, would I ask for, and we're doing this for our listings, asking for people to put on, gloves and masks and use Purell and things of that nature to come to a live showing? For sure. We've pivoted to doing a lot more digital in regards to 3D tours and things of that nature. But, I totally get it. Right now, there's a lot of families, clients of ours included, that are holding off because they've got, 1, 2, 3 kids that are home from school, or maybe somebody in the household that's at risk. So I think that's why we're seeing a much higher volume than usual. I guess unsurprisingly so, of homes being either withdrawn or temporarily taken off market.
Right. I feel like there's people like, either you get the people that are like, pedal to the metal, like ready to go, or like there's all of a sudden there's people pumping their brakes. Like it's all over the board.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I think we have clients that are all over the board, and we've had to exhibit and practice different, really our new norm in showings, which is, hey, asking every buyer, how serious are you? Are you starting out, or is this something, have you taken a look at the 3D tour? Enforcing, have you been exposed? Are you at risk? Just trying to eliminate every liability that we can for our folks to keep them safe, because on the other side, you want to keep them safe, but if their goal is to try to sell the place, eventually the buyer has to probably see it, and then also go through the process of getting inspection, appraiser, and things of that nature. So very strange dynamic. I hate utilizing the word unprecedented, because I feel like it's used all too often right now, but it truly is.
It really is.
Yeah. So, me personally, sure, because I think people circumstantially will still have a need to. A lot of folks I'm working with are either moving in from town, or maybe taking a new job outside of town. So, especially now, while they feel maybe some financial pressure, hey, I've got a good job, I want to take advantage of it. Getting the house sold is a byproduct. So, exercise every caution that you can. We're certainly not experts in regards to the biologics around COVID, but at the same time, I think we've seen
we're doing what we're told.
Yeah. And I think we're seeing some of the numbers starting to improve based off of a lot of practices that people have adopted. So tough question, but a good question, and obviously something that we're weighing every day.
And I feel like in 2 weeks we could have a different answer, possibly. It's like, who knows? Just going with it.
Yep.
Right on. Well,
cool.
5 questions. I have to ask the last one from Travis, just because it's so random and it just made me laugh. But Gentry, what part of town should I park my van?
To quote the great Chris Farley, in a van down by the river. So Travis, you should park your van down by the damn river.
Good answer. Right on, Gentry.
Well, hey, this was it's weird that we're not doing this face to face, but
I know.
This is our new norm. So I guess if any of you have made it to the end of this, we're going to continue doing this like once a week. And I'm just going to post a day ahead, just any questions you may have. They can be major macro questions that we're all too happy, or I'm too happy to pontificate on, or they could be like literally the simplest, like no questions too silly, because honestly, if you're asking it, somebody else probably has the same one. And while we're a little bit more stationary, I'm all too happy to do exactly this. So follow, please, at Gentry Todd on Instagram, or text me direct, 843-730-4454. Amy, anything else before I officially wrap up our first Zoom call?
No, Gentry, that was it. That was fun. I'm psyched to do the next one.
Cool. All right. We'll sign it off. We'll stop recording.